We were dealing with the lesson, the address, from the reader textbook. Last class we learned that a woman and her little daughter had to leave their home during World War II. The mother left all her things with a woman known to her. Long after the war, the daughter came to the town where she used to live with her mother. She went to meet the woman with whom her mother had left all her things, but the woman refused to recognize her for the first time because she didn't want to return the things she had taken. So the girl decides to visit her the second time. Now we will continue. Now a girl of about 15 opened the door to me. I asked her if her mother was at home. The second time, when the narrator went to Mrs. Darling's house, a girl of 15 years opened the door and she asked her for her mother. No, she said, my mother is doing an errand. Errand means a short journey undertaken in order to deliver or collect something. So she might have gone out in connection with her job. No matter, I said, I will wait for her. The narrator told her that she would wait for her mother. I followed the girl along the passage. An old-fashioned iron Hanukkah candle holder hung next to a mirror. The girl led the narrator in, and the narrator went inside and saw an old-fashioned iron candle holder hanging next to the mirror. We never used it because it was such more cumbersome than a single candlestick. The narrator remembers that the candle holder belonged to her mother, and they never used it because it was not so comfortable than a single candle holder. Won't you sit down? Asked the girl. She held open the door of the living room and I went inside past her. The girl took the narrator to the living room and asked her to sit down. I stopped, horrified. I was in a room I knew and did not know. The narrator, after reaching the living room, she stopped and she was so much horrified. She felt horrified because all the belongings of her mother were there inside the room. She felt that she was in a room that she knew and did not know because all the things were there in a place where she was not familiar with. I found myself in the midst of things I did want to see again, but which oppressed me in the strange atmosphere. Oppressed means troubled. She saw herself in between the things that she did not want to see again. But she was so sad because all the things were kept in a very strange atmosphere, or because of the tasteless way everything was arranged, because of the ugly furniture or the muggy smell that hung there. I don't know, but I scarcely dared to look around me. She was not happy to see the things kept in an untidy way. There was smell of dampness coming from the rooms. Muggy means smell of dampness. The girl moved a chair. I sat down and stared at the woolen tablecloth. I rubbed it. My fingers grew warm from rubbing. I followed the lines of the pattern. Somewhere on the edge there should be a burn mark that had never been repaired. After sitting, the narrator touched the woolen tablecloth. She felt that it was familiar to her. She knew that her tablecloth had a burn mark and she was searching for it. My mother will be back soon, said the girl. I have already made tea for her. Will you have a cup? The girl prepared some tea for her mother, who will be back soon. And she served the tea to the narrator and asked her to have a cup of tea. Thank you. I looked up. The girl put cups ready on the tea table. The girl arranged the cups on the tea table. She had a broad back, just like her mother. The narrator says that she also had a broad back, just like her mother. She poured tea from a white pot. All it had was a gold border on the lid. I remembered. She opened a box and took some spoons out. The narrator remembered even the teacups and the pot, everything were theirs. She even remembered the gold border on the lid of the teapot. That's a nice box, I heard my own voice. It was a strange voice, as though each sound was different in this room. While looking at those things, the narrator began talking to herself as if she recognized them. Oh, you know about them? She had turned round and brought me my tea. The girl asked the narrator how she knew about those things. She laughed. My mother says it is antique. We have got lots more. She pointed round the room. See for yourself. The girl told the narrator that all those were antiques and they have got many more. And she told the narrator to see everything herself. I had no need to follow her hand. I knew which things she meant. The narrator had no need to follow her hand to see the things which she meant. I just looked at the still life over the tea table. Still life here refers to the things like tablecloth, teapot, cup, spoons, etc. on the table. She looked at the lifeless things like teapot, cup, etc. As a child, I had always fancied the apple on the pewter plate. Pewter is a grey alloy of tin and lead. And she remembered that she always liked the apple on the pewter plate when she was a child. We use it for everything, she said. Once, we even ate off the plates hanging there on the wall. I wanted to so much, but it wasn't anything special. The girl told the narrator that they used everything, always. And she also added that once they even ate off the plates which were hung there for decoration. The girl also added that after eating on those plates, there wasn't anything special. I had found the burn mark on the tablecloth. Now the narrator, she saw the burn mark on the tablecloth, and she was able to confirm that the tablecloth was theirs. The girl looked questioningly at me. When the narrator found the burn mark on the tablecloth, the girl looked at her questioningly. Yes, I said. You get so used to touching all these lovely things in the house, you hardly look at them anymore. You only notice when something is missing because it has to be repaired or because you have lent it, for example. The narrator said that the girl becomes used to touching her things. She knows the things are there, and she will realize the grief only when she misses them. For example, when they are given for repair or is lent to someone. Again I heard the unnatural sound of my voice and I went on. I remember my mother once asked me if I would help her polish the silver. The narrator continued, and she describes an incident that happened long ago. She remembered that her mother asked her to polish the silver cutlery. It was a very long time ago, and I was probably bored that day, or perhaps I had to stay at home because I was ill, as she had never asked me before. I asked her which silver she meant, and she replied, surprised, that it was the spoons, forks, and knives, of course. The mother asked her so because the narrator stayed at home that day because she was ill. Then only she came to know that the spoons, forks, etc., that they used daily were silver. The narrator asked her which silver she meant, and the mother told that the same silver, that is, the same spoons, forks, and knives, they used daily. That day only the narrator came to know that the cutlery they ate of every day was silver. The girl laughed again. I bet you don't know it is either. I looked intently at her. Intently means with great interest. Hearing this, the girl laughed. Seeing her laugh, the narrator told her that she also will not be knowing it either. Saying this with great interest, the narrator was looking at her. What we eat with? She asked. Well, do you know? She hesitated. She walked to the sideboard and wanted to open a drawer. I will look. It's in here. The girl asked the narrator whether she was speaking about the cutlery they use. And the girl walked to the sideboard and wanted to check it. She opened the drawer and said that they were there. I jumped up. I was forgetting the time. I must catch my train. Hearing that the cutlery was there, the narrator jumped up and said that she was getting late for her train. She had her hand on the drawer. Don't you want to wait for my mother? The girl asked the narrator if she didn't want to see her drawer. Her hand was still on the drawer. She was preparing to open the drawer. No, I must go. I walked to the door. The girl pulled the drawer open. I can find my own way. Saying that she is getting late, the narrator walked to the door and the girl pulled the drawer open. As I walked down the passage, I heard the jingling of spoons and forks. While the narrator walked down the passage, she could hear the jingling of spoons and forks. At the corner of the road, I looked up at the nameplate. Marconi Street, it said. It had been at number 46. The address was correct. Once again, the narrator looked at the nameplate and the address on it, and she knew that the address was right. But now I didn't want to remember it anymore. I wouldn't go back there because the objects that are linked in your memory with the familiar life of former times instantly lose their value when severed from them. You see them again in strange surroundings. The narrator says that she doesn't want to go back there again because all those things of theirs have now become useless, as mother is not there to use it anymore. And not only that, they bring back the memories of her mother. So she didn't want to go back to such a surrounding. And what should I have done with them in a small rented room where the shreds of blackout paper still hung along the windows and no more than a handful of cutlery fitted in the narrow table drawer? Shreds means small thin pieces. Moreover, she was living now in a small rented house and has all the essential things with her. She actually doesn't want to get the possession of those things which bring back the memories of her mother. I resolved to forget the address. Of all the things I had to forget, that would be the easiest. The narrator decided to forget the address of Mrs. Darling. The best thing, she thought, is to forget the address so that she will not think about those things which once had a connection with her mother. She wants to forget the past and move on with the present into the future. Hope you all understood the lesson. Thank you.